Hi friends, in the last session under electrostatics, when we are discussing about electric flux, we looked at Gauss theorem statement. So this is a simple way of writing the Gauss theorem statement. The total flux over the closed surface in vacuum is equal to 1 by epsilon times the total charge inside. Now from this theorem statement, I concluded with three different types of interpretations. The charge we are talking about is inside only. Only inside charges have to be contributing. So inside charges can be point charges or distributed charges. That is the first understanding we need to have. And the other one is the charge that is lying outside the surface of consideration does not contribute anything to the total flux. So the flux is depending only on the charges inside the surface. And the third one is inside the surface where you keep the charge or where the charge is kept is immaterial. So therefore location of charge inside does not have any effect on the surface integral, that is on the total flux. So this is what briefly Gauss theorem is all about. Now let us understand proof of this. So let us suppose an isolated positive charge is kept here. Let us say this is kept at the center of a sphere. This sphere has got a radius r. Let us suppose like that. So what we are supposing? Suppose that an isolated positive charge Q is situated at the center O of a sphere of radius r. So there is a sphere of radius r whose center is O. At that point we are assuming that an isolated positive charge is kept. This is to be kept in mind. Another, before proceeding further, let me brief you that Gauss theorem, when you are trying to apply, it is applicable only for spherically symmetrical surfaces. So this is the point you have to remember. Spherically symmetrical surfaces you have to take. So that is what you have to remember. Why we will come to know that? As if the charge is kept, the moment you keep your charge here, it is the circle of influence of the charge. So therefore, at the center of a circle of radius, let us say like this, just I am elaborating this. A plus Q charge is kept. This is the assumption. Right? Now, on the surface, consider a point P. So, P is a point on the surface. Now the field intensity, if you remember well, will be acting in this direction. Because this is a positive charge. Now if you are trying to bring another positive charge, there is a repulsion, therefore this is the field intensity direction. Now, as per Coulomb's law, on the surface of sphere at a point P, on the surface of sphere at a point P, I am applying Coulomb's law. So I am trying to find the field intensity at P. So that is what we are trying to know. Field intensity at P. How do you get it? Field intensity, very simple. Coulomb's law says field density is equal to Q by 4 pi epsilon naught here the distance is represented by this vector, and in this direction field is acting. Therefore, this is the unit vector acting in this direction. Clear? Same thing I will apply to calculate the field intensity. Therefore, it will be Q by 4 pi epsilon naught into R cap by R square. That is the equation. Now, what is this R cap I am representing? R cap is a unit vector directed from O to P. Unit vector directed from O. This is the unit vector. Now, in this situation, at this point P on the surface, around that consider a small area element. So this is the area element I am considering around P, which is nothing but ds. Now the outward normal to this will be acting in this direction, n cap. N cap is nothing but unit vector along the outward normal. So around P I am considering a small area element that we will represent. So consider a small area element ds of the sphere around P. It is represented by the vector ds bar, which is nothing but n cap ds, the direction and the magnitude. Here n cap is the unit vector along outward normal to the area element. Got it? So this we will try to combine with this equation 1. So therefore, when you are calculating flux, E dot ds, you can have E value from here. You can have ds value from here. So you can as well call it as equation 2, no problem. So combining these two equations, so what we will get? Q by 4 pi epsilon naught into R cap by R square multiplied by, it's a scalar product, dot n ds. We will rearrange this equation. How it will be? That is E dot ds. So take out Q by 4 pi epsilon outside. Now in the numerator you have ds and r square. These two are directions. So therefore I will keep ds by r square as one term and r cap dot n cap as another term. Got the idea now? So this is the total flux. So q by 4 pi epsilon it is kept as it is, and ds by r square is taken out. That left us with r cap and n cap, so they can be written like this. So this is at one point. Now you want for the whole point, whole surface, you are taking only one point. Now if you want for the whole surface, you have to calculate the summation, that is the sigma, or integration you have to. So I will take a surface integral of this. So therefore the next step is, now why, if you are writing like this, a small point is to be remembered here. We know that since normal to the sphere at every point is along the vector, normal is always along the vector. Therefore, a vector at that point, naturally the unit vector value, this product always will be 1. So therefore how this expression will change? Therefore E dot ds is equal to q by 4 pi epsilon naught ds by r square. Because both are unit vectors only. Magnitude of unit vector is only 1. And moreover the normal is always, normal to the sphere at every point is along the radius vector, is along the radial vector, that is outward radius. So therefore the product will be 1. So by substituting this value here, this will become 1. So therefore we are simply left with E dot ds equal to q by 4 pi epsilon naught ds by r square. Now I am just integrating this to get the final value. This is at one point. For the whole surface, we have to take the surface integral. So that step I am writing. Integrating over the closed surface area of the sphere. What we will get, we will see. That means I have an LHS E dot ds, right? On RHS this value. So when I am integrating, what I will get? E dot ds. On whom? Over the closed surface S. So this is the surface integral. So that will be equal to, on the RHS side if you see, this is constant, q by 4 pi epsilon naught is constant. So take out that. So q by 4 pi epsilon naught into integral ds. You can take r square also by outside. So q by 4 pi epsilon naught r square, this entire value being constant, I am taking out of the integral, and it is left with this value. So the integral ds. Integral ds, this is also closed surface over the surface S. Clear? Now let us simplify this. This is equal to right hand side q by 4 pi epsilon naught r square into integral ds over s is what? Is nothing but total surface area of the sphere. Integral ds is nothing but s only. So because it is a spherical surface, So this you can modify as q by 4 pi epsilon naught r square multiplied by total surface area is what? Being surface, spherical surface, it is 4 pi r square. So you can strike off these two. So you are left with q by epsilon. So ultimately what is the value you got? Surface E dot ds of the closure surface is found to be q by epsilon naught. This is nothing but 1 by epsilon naught into q. What is this E dot eds? Total surface integral you have taken. Therefore, this becomes nothing but total flux. So, hence, total flux or a closed surface area is equal to 1 by epsilon naught times of that charge. This is the proof of Gauss theorem. Have you understood this? It's very, very simple to understand. So this is what we got as Gauss theorem statement and proof. So from this we can make some observations. First observation, let us say, the point charges we are talking about. We have taken only one charge. Let us say inside the surface there are number of point charges q1, q2, q3, etc., qn. When there are number of charges, each charge contribute to total flux. Remember, outside charge does not contribute, only inside charge that can contribute to total flux. That means their contribution could be, you can imagine, be using superposition. Like q1, let us say phi 1, phi 2, phi 3, etc., they can contribute up to phi n. So independent of others, each charge will be contributing to the flux. So you using superposition principle, so-called superposition principle, we can calculate the total flux. Phi of E, for example, you want to calculate. The q1 by epsilon naught plus q2 by epsilon naught plus etc. plus qn by epsilon naught. You can generalize that. So this is very simple. Nothing but phi E means phi 1 plus phi 2 plus etc. phi n. Or you can say phi E1, phi E2, etc. phi En. You can calculate like this. So take out the common thing in this. Total flux of the electric field is, take 1 by epsilon naught. So it will become q1 plus q2 etc. plus qn. What does it mean? That is equal to 1 by epsilon naught into total q only, no? That means ultimately you got the same equation, equal to q by epsilon naught. 1 by epsilon times the total charge. Now here I can write q as q1 plus q2 plus etc. So q is nothing but sigma qi, where I is equal to 1 to n. So the same statement. q1 plus q2 plus etc. I wrote it like this. In this angle also we can see. That means algebraic sum of all the charges inside. Algebraic sum of all the charges inside the closure surface. So therefore we can say total electric flux over a closed surface. Where is the surface? In vacuum is 1 by epsilon times the total charge within the surface, I mean inside, regardless of how the charges may be distributed. What does it mean? It's an algebraic sum only, no? So all these charges, they can't sit at one place. They have to be they should get distributed across the surface, inside. Irrespective of their position of placing, the total flux is found to be constant only. No? Therefore, the location of the charge is immaterial inside where the charge is located. Doesn't have any effect on the surface integral. Clear? This is one type of understanding we can have as an observation from this equation. Next, suppose there is a medium surrounding here. Second observation I am trying to make. Okay. Let us say when the medium surrounding the charge has a dielectric constant K, then your total flux is nothing but Q by K epsilon naught. Now what is K? K is nothing but epsilon by epsilon naught, which is nothing but relative permeability. We discussed last time. Now put this value here for K. Therefore, total flux, which is equal to K by epsilon naught, Q by K epsilon naught, you can say 1 by K into Q by epsilon naught. Now when you substitute this, is what will happen? 1 by K means you will have epsilon by E, or you can write ER. For K you can write ER. 1 by K you can write like this. So it will become Q by epsilon or epsilon naught. Right? What is epsilon r? Epsilon r is epsilon by epsilon naught. So this gets cancelled and you will be left with Q by epsilon naught. You can try this simplification. And another observation you can make is, suppose within the closed surface when there is no net charge, suppose there is no charge, means when Q is 0, then phi epsilon not equal to 0. That means there is no flux, because phi of is equal to Q by epsilon naught. So when Q is 0, automatically flux is 0. What does it mean? It means that total electric flux through a closed surface is 0 if there is no charge enclosed by the surface. So if there is no charge, there is no flux. That means flux is a reflection of charge, that is electrical field lines piercing through the medium. Then only you will have electric flux. This is what you need to know about Gauss theorem and the proof of Gauss theorem and its interpretations. Then thereafter we have to understand its validity, where Gauss theorem is valid, when it can be applied, what are its applications. That we shall try to understand in the next session, right?